Down south, right?
Yes.
So welcome back. It's been a couple of years since you were here last.
Yes, it was.
And that was when you ran for county commission?
Yes, county commission.
And what year was that?
That was in 2020.
So, and that was, and Keenan McGee
Yes.
has been pleasantly serving our constituents in that area, doing a fine job. But you've been involved in politics for a long time and an activist. So tell us about that journey for you.
Well, I mean, a lot of people know the story. I started as a guardian ad litem. And during the process of being a guardian ad litem, I got to learn and see a lot of things that I couldn't accept. So that got me to the politics. That was my beginning of politics. Ever since then, you know how they say ignorance is bliss. So I've been ever since, you know, trying to fight the good fight.
So a guardian ad litem is once you explain to our viewers what you did in that position.
It's a court-appointed advocate for children that get removed from their homes for whatever reason. It could be physical, mental, sexual, whatever the reason why children get removed from their homes. The court appoints a third party, an advocate for those children.
And so they may be, let's say, in a foster home, and you become
Yes.
their representative.
Yes.
And then you advocate for what you believe is the best thing for the child, and you bring that case to the departments, or is that in court also?
In court also.
And so,
Yes.
It must have been pretty fulfilling to represent some of these young people.
It is, especially coming from, I'm a person who grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, New York, and I saw a lot of that there, but I was a child then. So now I had the opportunity to do it, and I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it. I did it for almost 6 years, so yes.
So what was it like the day that you were appointed in that position? What was that like for you inside?
It was exciting, scary at first because you didn't know what to expect. But it was a lot of fun. You know, I got to meet a lot of children and their parents, and even to this day, I keep in contact with some of them. In fact, quick story: I was at the Daytona Youth Fair, and a lady came from behind me and tapped me. Is Johnny? Do you remember me? I want you to meet my son Johnny. And I was with my wife, and I'm like, okay, son Johnny, what happened? And then the lady says, no, remember you were the guardian ad litem for my son Johnny when he was 2 years old. And then I remember when she told me the address, I remembered who exactly
That must have
was.
been pretty fulfilling for you.
Yes, it was. It was exciting, and the young boy came up and shook my hand and said thank you. And I mean, you know, it was really nice.
So here you are in public service already. How old were you when you started doing that?
I started in 2008, so I'm about 42, 43, something like that.
People are really lucky if they find some of that passion early in their life, and certainly I think that 40 is certainly early in life. So after you did that guardian ad litem for 6 years, what then?
Because of what was going on, I decided to get into politics. At the moment, the one that was in that district was David Rivera in State House 112, because I was living in Kendall. And, you know, I ran that seat. I lost, obviously, because the Republican actually at that time was Jeanette Nunez, you know, who's our lieutenant governor. But I got to learn a lot. You know, I ran out of anger because I wasn't happy with what was going on. You know, a lot of us, you know, we live in our little lives, you know, taking our kids to, you know, Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout leader, T-ball, baseball with our children, and don't realize the dynamics that surround us. You know, so I got into that and I lost that, but I lost.
So people that were making zoning applications would go to the community council instead of going downtown.
Right.
So that was probably, that was in 1994, if I remember right, the community councils were formed.
Yes.
And so it brought it local. And that's what people really want. They want to be able to go and say, hey, I'm down the street from you. What do you think about this project?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you did how many years with the community council?
I was 4 years with the community
4 years.
council. Yes.
So it was pretty fulfilling for you.
Yes, especially I'm in the business. I'm in construction. I'm an electrical contractor.
Yes.
So I know the issues, and it was exciting, you know, again to talk with developers and just people that had, let's say, code violations in their home there that needed to get fixed. So it was fulfilling in that sense because I already knew what was, you know, and understood them.
So here we are, 2023. What now?
Well, I mean, I'm like a lot of other people, you know, just looking to see what's happening in the political field. As you're aware, District 118 has opened up. You know, I've had a few phone calls, and I mean, it's interesting. Let's put it that way.
It opened up because the person in that slot was appointed by Governor DeSantis to be the
clerk of court.
Clerk of court, very big position.
Yes.
All right. And what a great department. And Harvey Rubin ran that. He was the the team captain there
Yes,
for
he
many,
was.
many, many years. Certainly one of the longest serving elected officials in Miami-Dade County. He recently passed away, and a good friend of ours and of the newspapers. So you're going to consider running for that seat?
It's there.
It's there.
It's there.
So the again, the governor's are going to select a date or within a certain time frame that.
Yes, for a special election.
Yep. And so, how many people are in that district, more or less?
Living or registered? Because I can give you the registered number.
Okay, right. What's the registered
Registered numbers is about 157,000 registered.
How many people typically vote in that?
16%.
16. And so this is going to be a special election, short framework.
Yes.
So it's going to be a pretty small number.
Yes, it normally is. Special elections are shotgun elections. They're quick, they're fast, and they hurt a lot.
So, and we just had one here 2 years ago in South Miami. It was 6 weeks from the time the position opened.
Right.
So everybody went out and they spent their 6 weeks running. So, so what would be some of your plans if you get elected? What might be some things that you might want to listen to, and some things you might want to try to get done?
Well, one of the first thing, which when I ran the first time, I would talk about the insurance situation we have. It hasn't got fixed. Nobody's doing nothing really about it. They talk about it. They put a little Band-Aid over it, but the cut's bleeding, and bleeding bad. I mean, we all feel it. Look, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not a polished politician, but I'm gonna tell you what I am. I'm a community person. I'm a business owner. I'm a family man. I'm a grandfather. I am going through the same things that everybody in the community is going through right now. Okay, and insurance is one of our biggest issues, because some people are paying more for their insurance than they are for their mortgage, and I mean, and that's crazy. We have allowed it to get to that because of the people that we elect. Okay, now I'm not telling you here vote party wise. I say vote the person. Find out who your candidate is, see what they stand for, and vote that way.
And I'm glad you brought up the insurance, because right now there's so few carriers that are down here. Yes. And we're all about to take it's going to be a real pain for most people. And most of the insurance companies right now are not quoting until the last moment, because they don't want to do the work and then get outdone by somebody else. It's intolerable, especially where people are making less money. It may be a similar liability for the potential insurance company, but it hurts more if you have less money. Yeah. Also, we know a lot of the insurance companies are requiring roofs at a certain age to replace them. No longer is it just functional. No longer will they accept that the roofing thing is there, that you got to, the roof is fine. They want to see a new roof, right? They don't want to see if it's really old. And then I know somebody that had a flat roof on part of their house. The insurance company said, it only has 3 years left. We're not going to insure the roof at all.
Wow.
Even with 3 years left. And they did that to eliminate the liability. So the people had to go and spend $20-something thousand to replace that part of their roof in order to just be covered. And I might add that the insurance rate, it didn't change.
No.
Right? It stayed the same without regard. They just had less liability. And so, for the most part, we as consumers of insurance are more responsible for the damage that occurs than in years past. What are we going to do about these huge insurance bills?
Well, I mean, look, one of the things that I talked about before is, we got to get this reinsurance program that they're putting in. But instead of the taxpayer flipping the bill, we need the insurance company to start flipping the bill, because we paid. I mean, think about. I've never had to put a claim on my roof, thank God. Okay, but all these that I've been paying, that money has to go somewhere, and they've been enjoying all this money. So when you do have a claim, you expect to be helped. And now with the new legislation that came out, it's even harder for us to sue the insurance company. Yes. It's making it harder for normal
so
people like
understand me. This is what I've gathered out of this, that if you sue the insurance company because they didn't compensate what you think is properly, you have to pay your own attorney's fees.
Yes.
So if they offered you $70,000 for repairs and you said no, that's not enough, and you collected $100, you're going to have attorney's fees.
Yes.
Which is going to be tens of thousands of dollars, because why else would the lawyer take that case.
Exactly. You know, the lawyers are gonna, you know, they're gonna want retainers, and some people can't come up with $10,000-$15,000 for a retainer. It's just not doable right now. You know, the regular working person doesn't have that type of money to do that.
It's a real quandary. Next is we see that the real estate taxes seem to be under control higher, but we get that. We understand that. It can go up 3%. People can appeal that. There's an appeals process
Right.
with the county. If they don't, I would urge people to hire somebody to do it. They charge a fee for doing it, but they only charge if they are able to reduce your taxes, they get a certain percentage. Because if you try to do it yourself, if you screw up the magistrate, I think that's what it's called. Okay, out.
Yeah.
So hire somebody. Look in the phone book or online.
Yeah.
Phone book is all right. So what else can people do? And do we want them to do to get the attention of state representatives?
I mean, besides emailing them, calling them, you know, I mean, it's so hard and it's so difficult sometimes to get these elected officials once they get elected. You know, I believe in transparency and have an open door so for your constituency to come in. Okay. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, you know, as far as I go, everybody can call me up. My phone, I've given my number out the last 10 years, and people call me up still to this day. Even though I'm not elected, people call me up to see how I can help them with a problem, and then I guide them, you know, in the direction they need to go, and I follow up. But that's the type of elected official we should have. You know, somebody that we can call up, not call them, and then, you know, they get directed to the secretary, get directed to somebody else to, you know, try to see if you can get yourself resolved.
Let's talk about healthcare to people in Deep South.
Right.
Out of all the county, that's certainly an area that doesn't have as much access. That's a little bit more nervous about getting it. People up north walk in their doctor's office if they have insurance or Medicare.
Right.
What do you think can be done to provide some additional access to healthcare?
Well, and I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, I believe in universal healthcare. We need it, and especially when even I that have insurance got a call to get and set an appointment 3 months down the road. What if in 3 months something happens to me? You know, and I'm talking about, you know, just going to the cardiologist. I had to wait 3 months to go, you know, to get my yearly checkup. That's not acceptable. Okay, we need more access. We need better access. We need more options too. You know, I like the Affordable Care Act. That's fine, but to jump on there, sometimes a lot of people don't know how to manage, you know, through the website and stuff. So we need easier access. So we need somebody that we can call and get quicker access to that. I think if we do that, we'll be doing, you know, it'll be helping out a lot.
So people need, in the arenas they're not accustomed, they need an advocate, somebody that can guide them through the process, because if they don't know where to go, you know what happens? They hang up the phone, and then all of a sudden they get sicker, and then they wind up in the emergency room where it's a big problem, and it goes to then they wind up in the hospital a lot longer than they would if they were have regular care.
Exactly.
So, and let's talk about development in the south end of the county. There's an old saying: either we're going up or we're going out.
Right.
There's pressure on both arenas, right? Where the people that want to preserve the land for growing things are always faced with second or third generation families that want to sell it, and then you have the pressure for the apartments and their homes, and then on the more northern end, people say, I don't want a 5-story building over here. I don't want more apartments. I don't want more houses, but we want to go out west. How do you balance that?
Well, and that was Vera Miley as a community councilman. I dealt a lot with that, and I'm going to tell you, you know, we have a lot of land available. Believe it or not, we do. Okay, we just need to be smart about it. And I am a strong supporter of upzoning. We got to go up. You know, especially we don't want to move the UDB. We don't want to get into the Everglades area. You know, so we do got to go up, especially in those the corridor areas. The South Day corridor. I don't know when you've been there last, but it's blowing up, and that's a good thing, especially that those apartment buildings actually are going to be a buffer between that and the communities behind them. Yes. So I believe it's a good thing.
And so, when is the new rail BRT, bus rail transit, when is that going to be open for business?
I believe it's 2026.
All right. So that is, it's actually from up north all the way through Homestead or Florida City.
To Florida City.
And the county did a year or so ago say, listen, if it's in the county and it's right around the neighborhood, we're going to allow you to go higher, with less parking, so that you'll take public transportation.
Right.
So, and I think that'll open up north and south, and we won't be so divided. And we understand that when there's a war that goes on, you destroy the roads, all right, the waterways, and the busways. All right, so now this is open there, that'll have better communication. So let's talk about the new Southland Mall. It's under construction down there. How's that going to impact our neighbors as far as work and transportation?
Well, as far as I know, it's going to be like another city place, like in Doral. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I go to Southland Mall a lot too, especially to the movies. I think it's going to be a good thing for the community. You know, it's going to have more place for local people to go to, and that is what we need more down south. We need more businesses like that, you know, to come down so we don't have to travel so far out.
And it's a town center. People will be able to go there.
Yes.
And in the old days, you know, we used to go to Dayland. That's where we sort of hung out over there. So this is going to be really significant. There's going to be apartments there. There's going to be a huge medical center that's going to be there. Has it been identified who the medical center is? Who that is?
No, it has not.
And lots of places to eat and to be entertained.
Yes.
And that is going to be a wonderful thing. There'll also be transportation for people that they want to work there. They can take public transportation that's there.
The busway is right across the street.
Yes. And so that busway is $300 million for starters, $100 million from the county, and then 100 from the state, 100 from the
federal.
And we hope that that's going to improve relationships between the north end and the south end to make us a little bit more equal as far as access.
But I did prefer rail.
Okay. Yes, I know there was a big conversation about that. How
Yes.
come we're only getting buses rather than rail? And then maybe at some point, if there are a lot of people that are on there, the county or whoever it is can be able to say, hey, we have this transportation that we're doing, and maybe if it was a rail, it might be better or faster. I guess we'll know in a couple of years.
Yeah, well, I mean, they go by ridership. You know, depending on the ridership is how they get their funds and the decisions. Just that, you know, when they were making all this time too, we had COVID hit and people losing their jobs, so ridership was low at the time. But a lot of people do take it. I mean, I think we could have done it if they would have done more studies and took a little more time to study it, not just, you know, going in and want the bus fare right away. I was on the committee that they want the recommendation from us, whether it be rail or bus. And I can say the committee did recommend rail, but they didn't go that way. They went with the bus.
And I know that our commissioner in that area fought for rail.
Yes,
and
he was.
I think
he was there with us fighting for rail.
Right.
Yes,
and he tried to get it done, but the other people said, "Listen, it's already funded.
Yeah.
If we stop that, we're going to have to go get it, and take a couple of years, you know, to do that." So we're all looking towards that. And I see the rail, the station that they're building, 104th Street area.
Right.
It's like really cool. It's very neat.
No, they are.
And
nice.
that's going on all throughout the quarter down there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, again, it looks like, well, there'll be either the old mayor is going to be reelected or a new one. When is that election?
The election, I believe they have a primary in September, and then if there's a runoff, it's for November.
So there's three or more people that are running.
At this point right now, I think there's two, but there might be a third. I mean, I know it's the mayor that's there right now, the existing mayor, and Julio Guzman. Because we are talking about city council. Yes. I believe Julio Guzman is going to win.
Yep. I asked him one day, "Do you speak Spanish?" He says, "Guzman, Michael. What do you think?" It just didn't dawn on me. I don't know why. So state representatives, all right, it's 118 that you may file for.
Right.
Well, what is it, again, a couple things you would like to do? If you could if you get elected and you could push a magic button, you mentioned about insurance. What are some of the other things you think you'd like to open a discussion about?
A freeze on the taxes for the retired seniors. I think that's something that we can do, and I talked to the tax collector on that, and he said that he has a group that's willing.
Talking about real estate taxes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. For instance, if you're retired or you're a senior, I think we should freeze the taxes on your house. So no matter what happens in the area, okay, you are maintained at that. Okay, especially in those areas where there's still development going on. You know, people who are retired, you're on a fixed income. Okay, taxes. They start building $1 million homes a block from you. That's going to affect you. So I want to be able to freeze that, so that this way you're not affected by it.
So I know we're discussing county-wide issues and then obviously statewide stuff.
Right.
And so it's sort of a mixture of that, so people don't get confused as far as what state does versus
Right.
on the county. But it shows that you're really connected to people and that you want things that are really good and really local, because that's what we're trying to do here in Dade County. Your area is pretty big. So you have people down south. What's the farthest north?
The farthest north it goes to 8th Street.
So you have a lot of different demographics in there,
Yes.
right? And a lot of socioeconomic differences. So how do you bounce around in dealing with people that are struggling and people that are not so much struggling, and then people that couldn't care less about the farmland in the Homestead area?
Well, I mean, you have to understand all of them. You know, I'm a regular person, you know, a working person. So, and my job allows me to be in all different areas, you know, especially within the county. So I know when I'm working on people's homes, I work on people's homes that are worth $100,000 or $1 million homes. You know? So I see what they're going through. I understand their plight, you know. So that's how I'm able to connect with them.
And one of the things we realize that people want to be listened to, and they hope that you can help them, but the minimum is that they were heard.
Yes.
And what is it that you can do? What skills do you have so that when somebody wants to talk to you, what are you going to do so they can say, I spoke to Johnny and he heard what I said? What can you do?
Well, as part of a businessman already, you know, I'm a negotiator. Okay, so you know, I listen and I follow up. That's one of the most important things. That's why I think I've been so successful in my small business. Is, you know, when I talk to the customer, I don't just get the job and send the guys to do the job. I'm there also walking it through, make sure that it gets right, calling them back. Hey, you know, 2 months later, is everything okay? Is everything still working? Everything fine? Do you need anything? And being a formed relationship, I call them on their birthdays. I call them on, you know, for the Christmas time. I stay in touch with them so they know that I'm not there just for that one moment.
And you know, when you go to a local restaurant, the owner or maitre d' comes out,
yes,
right? And they say, "Hey, Johnny, how you doing?"
That has happened.
Isn't it a great feeling?
It is.
When they pay attention, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to pay attention to people and be able to have that connection and make it genuine.
It is. It is. It happened to me just recently in Bahama Breeze. I was eating, and the waitress, not my waitress, it was a different waitress, comes over and she sees my name on the shirt, and she says, Johnny Farias, the one that just ran. I go, yes. She goes, I ordered for you. Oh my God, it's so nice to meet you. And had a conversation, and it felt really good. You know, that people recognize your name and they recognize you, and of course I always get the question, when are you going to run again? When are you going to run again? But yes.
And when she went home, she told people, I met Johnny today. Isn't that great?
Yes.
So what are you doing now to maintain a high posture in the community?
Well, I'm still in touch with all my constituents. I still call people for their birthdays. That's a big thing for me because I did it. I do it for my business, so I just incorporate it also in my politics. I stay in touch with everybody. I go to the meetings. And
which meeting?
The Richmond Heights Alliance. I go to the meetings from schools that they have, just in the council meetings. And I watch the Miami-Dade live to see, you know, what's going on, and also I keep in touch with a lot of the representatives to see what bills they're passing and how it's going to affect the communities, not only mine but all communities.
So lots of people have this misconception is when they see something being brought up on the floor, let's say for the county commission or the state, oh, you can call and try to do something. At that point, it's already been through a process of months or maybe longer. So people have to be involved from the get-go. So how do they find out stuff that hasn't happened yet but is being discussed? How can people get involved in that?
Well, I mean, usually on the Miami-Dade County website, let's say, or if you wanted to go state, you can go on their website, and it'll show you things that are coming up, you know, down the pipeline, and you have a chance to read it. The thing is, it says so many, and the language is so long, you know, that it takes a while. But you can do it, and you can you call people that, you know, and you ask questions. Hey, what's happening? You know, and stay in touch with your elected officials. That's one of the most important things, and see what they're doing.
So people can sign up for the newsletters.
Yes. From
their local representative, and I urge people to do it with several,
definitely.
Right? Not just one, because it could be in somebody else's district, but
it can
your guys got to vote on that, all right?
Exactly.
And some people think, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter on all that stuff, and people can go to the community council meetings in person. If they want to be involved in the Homestead, they can show up at the Homestead City Hall meetings, and I'm sure they have some sort of Facebook or
They
YouTube.
do. They
thing.
do.
And to speak to the people, find out what's on the agenda so that down the road you can be an integral part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, so here we are almost halfway through 2023. It's amazing.
It is.
Right? It's stunning how fast it goes by. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, we're already thinking about September, October, November of this coming up, and it's going to be here before the kids are going to be back at
And
school.
the blink of an eye.
But we know that we're already planning stuff for November and December.
Yes.
Here, right? And by the way, we do monthly luncheons at Casa Cuba here in South
Yes.
Miami.
I've been to them.
Yes, and our vice chairman of the Miami-Dade County Commission is going to be our next guest, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And people get to talk to him, not a lot there, but get to meet him so they can continue conversations.
Right.
And each of the commissioners, whether they're from the county or the state, and the state representative, or with the cities, they all have aides that help them.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first contact with the people, with the office, if they can't reach the representative of the officer, the office holder, they should be prepared to talk to the assistant.
Right.
When they call and speak to them, they got them on the phone. How should they explain the challenge that they're having? Should it be short, long? If it's with addresses, should they have the address of things? Tell us how that process would work.
Because time is so limited, once you get that elected official, yes, I would recommend you have and if it's about a property or your house, have your address ready. Have the address, any other information that you think that he's going to need at the moment, instead of you trying to figure out what he's going to want. Because in this way, that helps him, and he can pay, take care of you, write all this stuff down, and hopefully he can give you a day that he can resolve it. But you got that information
so if
ready.
they have that information all in advance, right, and the day they get to speak to him, make sure you get the right email address, and if they can do this, it was nice talking with you this morning.
Yes.
And then have that information, because if you wait a week or two or three, the receiver of that email is going to go, I guess it wasn't important enough.
Yes. Oh, you got to follow
Right?
up.
You got to send it right away, and then you got to follow up. So people should
Yes.
say, when can I get back to you, to sort of hold them to some sort of
Timeline.
timeline on that. So tell us about your family. You mentioned that you were a grandfather.
Yes. I have a grandson of 9. He just turned 9, and I have a granddaughter who's about to turn 2 at the end of the month. And they're exciting. Before I had grandkids, everybody was telling me how, wait till you have grandkids, you're gonna love them more than your children. I was like, impossible. Now I understand why.
There certainly is that fulfillment of understanding the cycle of life,
Yes.
and that do they live locally?
Yes. All my children live
That's
locally.
wonderful.
Yes. I have 3 boys, or 3 men, and 2 women. Even though to us they're always kids. My oldest, he just graduated from St. Thomas. He's starting now to take his bar. So hope we're gonna have a lawyer in the family.
Good for you.
Well, gotta have one. That's good,
Yes.
right?
And you went to Miami-Dade, graduated in 2016.
Yes.
And so when did you become an electrician?
Right out of the service. I shouldn't say that. Afterward, when I got out of the service, I was a sonar tech in the U.S. Navy, which is basically a sub hunter, in plain terms. When I got out, the only closest thing that I could have done is either go to Texas and go on a ship to look for oil, or get into electronics. So I got into, as an electrician, as a helper, as an electrician, and I started from there.
That's wonderful. And so we have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
And what I'd like you to do is just imagine that there's some 18-year-old young man or young woman that's watching you.
Right.
What message do you want to send to them?
Follow your dream. Don't ever give up, because when you stop following it, that's when you fail. I'm a very person that's always persistent. Everything I've done in my life, my marriage, I'm married 33 years now. My business, I've been in business for over 20 years. So you gotta keep at it. Don't think of it as a failure. Think of it as now I know what to do the next time around. Always follow your dream, because you'll see that you can make it.
Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you very
And
much.
good words of wisdom. Folks, thank you for joining us. And if you need to reach Johnny, you can find him all over the internet. Just look on Google
Yes.
and they'll find you. Folks, thanks for joining us. And Andres, thank you very much for